All right, page 7 on the quiz. I got everybody's up there?
Last question.
All right, go ahead. Rounding, we talked to, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it. Aiden can finish up while I'm talking. It's not a whole lot that I'm going to tell you about rounding. You should know your place values. All right? Most of the rounding that we do in here, we're going to be dealing with money. So most of the rounding that we do, how many places are you going to go out every single time behind the decimal? Our money system has 2 behind the decimal every time. All right? So now if it's $5 even, I don't expect that you put 5.00 every time. All right? That's not necessary. But if it comes out something like $5 and 3.393, something like that, then you need to know to round it off to 539, or what else do you think I'd accept there?
540.
540, depending on what we're doing. All right, if it's you paying money out to somebody, they're probably going to round it to what? 40. If it's money that they're paying you, it's probably going to get rounded to what? 539. Sorry, Peyton, but that's the way it is in the world. They're going to take that extra penny from you. It always killed me. When I was growing up back in the Stone Age, bread was 3 for $1 at the grocery store all the time. Loaves of bread were 3 for $1. My mom would send me to the grocery store. There used to be a grocery store in El Dorado. I believe that.
$3.
All right. She'd send me up the road to the grocery store, say get a loaf of bread. Got your calculators out. Somebody help me out. How much should each loaf cost me? 33 cents. But if I do 33 times 3, that only comes out to what? 99 cents. The grocery store is losing a penny. Do you really think they're going to lose a penny? No. So instead of charging me 33 cents for that loaf of bread, what do you think they charge me? 34. All right? They charge me 34 cents. And then everybody after that, so they make that extra penny.
Hey, Mr. Ebersole, you got some ink?
Yeah. You want me to give you some?
What? I don't have any.
Anybody have any questions about the rounding? On the homework.
You know,
What's that?
we should ask if that problem, if people look up to the word.
Do it.
Do not.
Make everybody do
No.
it.
Yep.
No.
How come Dylan say do not? He said he did it all.
I don't know.
Well, I don't do it, I just hate them on board.
What about the homework? No,
Yeah,
don't
we
do
didn't
that.
so we don't have to do that.
Page 101.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, we switch it back.
Mr. Ebersole, while you're doing that, can I do it?
Yeah, you can do it. Page 101, questions. This is over overtime pay, right? No questions? Nobody wants to help Kylie out? Give her some answers?
Sure.
Hey, it's not your side, it's one now.
Yeah,
And
Elijah, too.
Elijah too.
Calculate something, say number.
Is,
1620.
is A for the first question, 6 for B?
Wait, this one.
Yeah.
We did this for homework,
No questions. Did you say one set?
I don't have any questions, but I do have these questions. And then do it.
No questions. Everybody could do overtime. So if we took a test right now, everybody'd be all right with it.
Yeah, I say we.
Pretty simple concept,
No.
honestly.
Overtime's 1.5.
Or two.
Sometimes.
Or 2 during a holiday, right?
And
Depends.
right, it depends on the company. Some companies, some companies pay double time regardless. If you're working over, they pay double time. Some companies never pay double time, even on holidays.
It just depends on the
It depends on the company. Some companies, you might work on Christmas Day, and if that company you're working for, that might be a normal work day for them. Alright, you'd have to go and read all the rules and everything and all the state of Ohio
Regulation.
right, regulations. Somehow, some companies get around that and say, no, Friday's Christmas. Now, that's a normal work day for us, so you get paid your normal pay and that's it.
On my job, you don't have vacation days. If you wanna take it off, you don't get paid.
See, that's, some jobs are that way, you just,
Or holidays, you take off, but you don't get paid for the holidays. Which is alright, but.
You know, if you don't get breaks, not only you could be worked to death, but you could be worked to done.
Hey, that's
But
why I
since
said
it's a
that.
limit, so $5.
that applies almost all
I just got a shovel in my hand
And
for
then
8 hours
otherwise
a day.
you don't get
Depending on what job.
No guilt either.
you see me by when Seth said work to done, there was like 6 million things going through my mind that I wanted to say.
I just heard of it, it was just a very okay.
No questions? Alright.
I think we should do a problem though.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Like a proper opportunity.
So
You guys said no questions.
We just wanna make up one?
Can't say something.
No.
Sure.
Do the first one.
Make
No.
up one. Adam, you shut up, you never.
Make up one?
Yeah, make
Or
up
do
one.
one?
Make
Do
up one.
one.
Make
Pick
up
one for us then.
10.
Number 10. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 8.
Number 10 says your hourly pay is $32.25. So that's how much you make per hour. $32.25. Have the calculators out so you can help me.
32 times 40.
You're working a regular 40-hour week, so we're gonna do 32 times 40. So this would be your straight time pay. You just worked your normal 40-hour week. How much did you make?
$12.90.
$1,290? 00?
Yes.
We really don't need the 00 on the end there, but I'm gonna put it on there just in case. So that's your straight time pay.
Then you have overtime.
Let's see, they say that for overtime, you make time and a half. And you work 6 hour, or 6.25 hours, so 6 1/4 hours.
6 1/4.
Well, first thing we gotta do before we can find your overtime pay is find how much per hour you make when you're working overtime. So we normally make $32.25, but to find our pay for those overtime hours, we gotta multiply that by
1.5.
1.5. Somebody do that for us. 48 even,
No, 0.37.
0.37.
Yes.
Everybody agree with that? So if we're working overtime, whatever this job is that we have, we make $48.37 per hour. All right, now do we just add that to that? No, now we gotta figure out how many hours we worked of overtime.
So 48.37 times 6.25.
48.37 times 6.25. Because we worked 6 hours, 6 1/4 hours overtime. Does everybody know a quarter of an hour is 0.25? What would a half an hour be? 0.5. What would 3/4 of an hour be?
0.75.
0.75, so on, so on. Some companies now have you clock in and out, and they may even go a little farther than that and go right down to the minute. All right, where my wife works at, they don't pay her for overtime or anything, but she has to clock in at 7:20 and clock out at 3 o'clock. And so they're all sitting there waiting.
Where's she work?
Montgomery County ESC.
Oh, makes sense.
So they make them clock in and out right on time. And if they clock out any other time, people come and throw a fit at them.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. That's what I said.
Can everybody do it in that minute though?
Yeah, see, that's the bad thing. Probably
Everybody
not.
calling in like
And-
dogs.
They can't do it before?
No,
Is it 30?
not supposed to.
Well, they probably have like more than one.
Now, I think maybe this year, she might have told me and I don't remember for sure, But she might have told me that now they got like a 5-minute leadway, one way or the other, so that you don't get in trouble. Now, if you're 5 minutes late clocking in, they dock you. But 5 minutes earlier, you're all right. When I worked at McDonald's first started, when I was working there, they changed this many, many years ago, it was down Eaton, they changed their system right at that point, and you had to clock in. Well, it was all computerized, and if you clocked in 2 minutes early, the computer paid you for that 2 minutes. Well, McDonald's didn't like that. So they fixed that real quick. They went in and fixed their computer because, you know, I'd get there 15 minutes early and clock in just to be done with it. And they were paying me an extra 15 minutes and they were throwing a fit about it. So
Wow.
fix your computers. What's this give us?
302.434.
434? Is that what you said?
No, just 34.
Oh, just 34. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, what do we do?
Plus that, plus your shot straight line.
So we add these two. It kills me how many students I've had in the past say, oh, that's my pay.
Wow.
If I work 46 and a half hours and I'm making $32 an hour, and I only make $300 in that week.
You better get a new job.
Exactly, something's not right. So make sure that your answer makes sense. We add these two, what do we come up with?
1592.34.
That's crazy. I did bring it up.
Now, again, would that be your bring home pay?
No.
State tax.
No, that's your gross pay. That's your gross pay. All right, what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover two things today. And we want to get through the notes real quick because hopefully we can just do the homework together. All right? And we'll try to get as much of it done as we can because the homework's fairly long. Because it's like 2 different pages, 2 different assignments. First thing, weekly time cards. A lot of companies now, some of the stuff's outdated. I don't know, you go to a factory, you might have a time card. I worked at a factory up in Greenville retreading oversized tires or off-road tires. So these were tires that you think you've seen some big tires before. The tractor tires that you guys see around, those are small. It's in Greenville. If you go the back way into Greenville, past the fairground, not on the main street out there, but on the back side, and there's a Y, you turn off there, you go down there, down that road, there's a tire retrading place back there. There's a retirement home back there, or it's not a retirement home, it's like a retirement houses or something, and you pass it and you go on down there. There used to be on down the road from it, there used to be a club down there where bands would like play and stuff. I don't know if it's still there or not, I can't remember what it was called.
Where the big red thing is, where the tile place is now, tile place down there,
I think that is down that way somewhere.
that's right before the curb.
No, it's,
Before the curb?
no, so if you're going, you go past the fairground,
Yeah.
and instead of going straight, it Y's off, and then you go, oh no, I know where you're talking about. You go around that curve, and then you have to turn to the left on that next road before you get back into the middle of Greenville.
I see, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the big tire place on the right, where there's the big tires on trailers.
Yeah, great big huge tires.
Yeah.
Not, tractor tires are small compared to those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I worked there, we had time card, the old punch clock. And you had to punch in and out. And that's what this is just your weekly time card. So a weekly time card usually looks something like this, and it'll have little slots on it. and you'll stick it in there and punch in, and it'll put down 812 when you punched in, and whatever time, 6:30 or something, whenever you punched out, and then they'll calculate up how many hours you worked that day.
What about the breaks and lunch?
Usually, if it's something like that, if you have a break and a lunch and they don't pay you for it, there we got paid for it, so we didn't have to worry about it. So if you don't get paid for it, which some places do, then they might have like 4 slots or 6 slots or something, and every time you go punch in, punch out, punch in, punch out. Most places, if you're working an 8-hour shift, number one, they have to give you a 15-minute break every, it's either 10 or 15 minutes, I can't remember, again, you look up the regulations. 10 or 15 minutes every like 4 hours. And a half-hour lunch. If you're working an 8-hour shift, they have to give you a half-hour lunch.
Man, I was working 7 hours, I got an hour left.
We got an hour lunch.
Now, did you get paid for it? See,
Yeah.
that's,
Ain't bad then.
yeah.
Good old elite.
I think, like here at school, the custodians and stuff, I think that's what they get. You work think about this. I think you work an 8-hour shift, but you get paid for an hour that you're on break. So they give you like a 15-minute break, a half-hour break, 15-minute break, but I think like my brother, instead of taking a 15-minute break, another 15-minute break, they put it all as one and make it an hour, and you just take an hour lunch.
Brother works there?
Dave?
Yeah, he was up here a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, that's your brother.
Yeah, they look a lot alike, don't they?
So a weekly time card is just a daily record of the time that you report in and out. On your weekly time card, you're gonna have to be able to deal with figuring up minutes, hours, and so on to get your total. That's what we're gonna do. Again, a lot of this stuff's outdated. Are you probably ever gonna have to do this? No, there's probably a computer now that's hooked up, whatever job you do. Unless you're working, if you're working some kind of landscaping job or something, like I worked for Faust Brothers down the street here when they were in business, which I don't think they are anymore, but when they were doing landscaping, so I just had to remember my hours and write them down every day.
That's how I was this summer.
You just had to write it down.
And we had like job sheets of how many hours they worked at one job.
Yeah. And some places are still that way. I know my son worked at a concrete company, and that's the way his was. It was, hey, what time did you get there? What time did you leave? And they just wrote it down. And total hours just equals the sum. What's sum mean? You just add them all together. So this is the only formula. You just add up all the total hours. So whatever the sum is of your daily hours. And some of the times you're going to have to, what Dylan brought up a minute ago with the lunch and stuff, you might have to take off that half-hour lunch, if that's what the problem tells you. Did you see a water sitting there anywhere? I swear I just had a water.
I think I went in the back.
Not your water. Is it sitting back here? Did I carry it back here with me? Just toss it. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Piecework. Does anybody have any idea what piecework is? It's not when you're trying to make peace at work.
When you receive a specific amount.
Nope, that makes no sense.
All right. A lot of factories went to piecework here a few years ago. Now I think they're getting away from it again. Piecework is you get paid by how much you actually do.
I think that makes more sense though.
With company, that's why GM is no longer in Dayton, because they didn't do piecework. Because I had relatives that worked at GM, and I had My landlord, when I first moved out of my house, my landlord that I was renting off of worked at GM. I never knew that the guy even worked at, him or his wife worked at GM, because they never went to work.
Because
They were on disability the whole time. They were just drawing money from GM,
Won't life like that.
paying them for doing nothing. And, you know, they'd go to the doctor once every 6 months and say, oh, my back's hurting, and the doctor would give them a note, and they'd send it to GM, and GM just had to continue paying them on, workman's comp. And it was ridiculous, because I watched the guy drive a backhoe and lift everything, do whatever there at his house, but he was making a whole bunch of money at GM. Now, what happened there, he does that, can you guys get a job at GM? Not unless you move away, because it's no longer here, because people like that ran it into the ground.
Where's it at now?
Now, they did, I had a sister-in-law who worked at GM, and when GM up here closed down, she transferred to Louisiana. And in Louisiana, the GM plant went to piecework and said, all right, this is the way it's gonna go. You make so many of this part every day. You had like how much you had to make. You had to make 1,000 pieces. Right, so every day for your 8-hour shift, you had to make 1,000 pieces. You didn't make 1,000 pieces, you didn't get paid for your full 8 hours. You had to make 1,000 pieces, and if you made more than that, then you got paid extra. So that was sort of piecework.
I feel like that would limit people to do
Right.
their work.
How would they know how many hours they made?
Guarantee if it was like that, I guarantee.
Listen, you're the only one working on that machine.
So many on the box.
So, and maybe, not only does it motivate me to do my work, but if me and Adam are working on the same machine and I'm putting one piece on, you know, this alternator or whatever, and then I'm passing them on to him, and he's sitting over there screwing around, well, it's gonna motivate me to put my foot in Adam's behind and say, hey, you goofball, you're costing me money, let's get on the ball or you get the heck out of here.
I wanna watch that look good. I enjoy it.
So, but what we're gonna deal with piecework, a lot of piecework would be something like, if you ever, and I'm sorry, young ladies, but this may not, a lot of things that I say throughout the year might not actually fit you. I go to AutoZone and get a starter, all right? Does anybody know where those starters come from?
Not from my
Not American.
They're not from a factory either,
China.
because they're rebuilt. Most every starter you buy at AutoZone is just a rebuilt starter, all right? So they get old starters and they go in and they rebuild them. And then they, put them back out and resell them.
That's called a reman starter.
Right.
And then you can buy a new starter.
You can buy a factory-built starter if you wanna wait, because they usually don't have those in stock. They gotta order them. All right, so you go in there and you get this rebuilt starter. Well, I'm not sure if they still do it with starters and stuff like that. It used to be that maybe Seth is sitting at his house rebuilding these starters. So they have somebody doing piecework, rebuilding that, and then send it back in. And Seth rebuilds 10 a day, he gets paid by how many he completes.
Have you seen Trailer Park Boys?
Is that what they do?
Bubbles takes shopping carts from the store and fixes them and sells them back to the grocery store. And that's what he does for work. So,
I mean, that's pretty smart though. Think about it.
Another,
I like what Ricky does.
something that's not, it's sort of piecework. If you go to I know that the one at Newhurst closed down, but if you go to a golf courses pay people to go out and collect the golf balls out of like the woods or the water or somewhere, and then they'll pay you per ball when you turn them in. So, so if you ever see, if you go to some of these major golf courses, you'll see somebody with scuba gear actually going into the water and collecting golf balls and getting all those golf balls. So that sort of piecework, they pay you by how many you retrieve. I got like, this doesn't have anything to do with this, but I got like buckets of golf balls at my house that my kids use to just go out and hit into the woods.
I used to do that with baseball bat.
Every now and then they do that too.
I live-
When they can't hit it with the golf
Yeah.
club, right, then they grab a baseball bat and they hit it with that.
Me and Kate and Clark, we live right next to the one in New Paris, and like every day, we look into the field and there'd just be like 30 golf balls in the field next to our house. We'd just grab them, hit them with baseball bats back.
I was with you guys.
Yeah, anywhere.
I thought you were selling those.
So what you guys had Seth running around gathering up all the golf balls for you, then once he left, you had fun with him by hitting him with the baseball bat? Is that what it was?
Alright, good time.
All right, your total pay, you get paid per item, and then however many items you get done, times that. So if Aiden over there's got a business from his house,
Ironworking.
what is the, Etsy, is that what it is? Etsy, where you can buy stuff online? Is that Etsy? Etsy, some of this stuff, you know, some of the people on there do this stuff. They'll like sew things on hats and stuff and sell them to companies, or sew on blankets, or sew on whatever and sell them to companies, and they get paid for how many they get done. So it's not just, you know, mechanical stuff or anything. It could be sewing, could be how many donuts you make in a day. You know, you make donuts at your house and then you take them down to Dunkin' Donuts and eating, or whatever that donut place is called. Daylight Donuts, is that what it's called?
That place is good.
It is the best.
Take them down there and sell them.
I think good.
Their coffee is the best. Good vanilla iced coffee.
All right, Joe worked the following hours. Have back your calculators again to help us out here. Joe worked the following times last week. He earns $11.25 per hour. Find his gross pay for the week. He takes a half-hour lunch each day. Now, some places you have to take a lunch.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so they force you. They take a half hour out of your day regardless. And so if you work right through it and don't take a lunch, they still take away that half hour. So you got to make sure that you know if your company does that or not. Looking at Monday here, how many hours did Joe work on Monday?
8.25.
8.25. Everybody agree with that? Does everybody know how Dylan got it? And if you don't know, that's what you should do. That's what I still do. I count them up. I start at 8 o'clock. I get to 9 o'clock. How many hours have I worked on? 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
25.
So 8.25. Now, you got to remember the first, when we read the directions up here, what did it say?
Half an hour lunch.
So he didn't really work 8.25 hours. How much did he work?
Like
7.75.
Yeah.
7.75. So that's what I'm going to write down right there. 7.75 hours.
Okay, so that would be
8 to 5.
8.5.
So we go 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 9 hours. But we got to take off a half hour for lunch. So what's that? 8.5.
And then next one will be 9.
Next one's 9. Everybody agree with that? What's 8.5 is the decimal, so we can just use our decimal. 8.5.
Yeah, that's 9.
9 hours. Is that what I'm writing down, or is that before we take off the lunch?
That's what you're right at.
That's after we take off the lunch.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock to 5:30.
And then that one would be
So 8 to 4.
That'd be 7.5.
7.5.
yeah.
Now, use your brain a little every now and then. Don't sit here and count on your fingers the whole time. Look right here. If this was 7.5, and we added another 45 minutes on, it's gonna be 8.25. So we don't have to go back and do all that again. Then on Saturday, work 10 to 3.
4.5.
6,
Which one is it? I'm hearing different answers.
6.5, 7.5, 4, so 6.5,
Huh?
right?
I think Jane's.
It'd be 5 altogether, minus half
Yeah,
hour.
4.
But you gotta watch, because what time did he start on Saturday?
Oh,
4.5.
Oh, she thought it was 8
Yeah.
o'clock.
4.5, is that what we're going with?
4.5.
So 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, that's 5 hours, and you take off half hour for lunch, so 4.5. So all you did was you didn't see the starting time change. Saturday, sometimes you go in at a little different time maybe, you just sleep in a couple hours. Somebody add all those up for us. 45? 45.5? So that's how many hours we worked. And then we want to know the gross pay, so what do we do?
563.
That's not very much.
$500.63? Everybody agree with that? Try it again then, let's make sure. 511, even? 511.87? Is that what we're going with? 511.87? That's your gross pay again, is that gonna be how much you bring home? No.
Cause taxis.
Surrey earns $23. This is one of the harder problems. Anytime throughout the year when you see an algebra problem, or sometimes they'll say a challenge problem, those are a little more difficult, make you think a little bit. Surrey earns $23.45 per hour. She starts work on Tuesday through Saturday at 8 a.m. and takes an hour lunch every day. If she ends work at 5 p.m. on Tuesday through Friday, how late must she stay on Saturday to have a total pay of $891.11? So they're saying for some reason, she's got a budget and she wants to make $891 every week to make sure that she's staying on her budget. Does that make sense?
So she's working 9 hours throughout the week.
So let's look at each one. She starts at 8 and she ends at 5. How many hours is that? 9 hours, but she takes a
Half hour lunch.
hour lunch. So each day she's working 8 hours, right? So Tuesday through Friday, she's working 8 hours. So Tuesday she works 8. What's she work on Wednesday? 8. Thursday? Friday? And then Saturday we don't know about, right? That's what we're trying to figure out. How many hours she's got to work on that day? How many hours has she worked so far? 32. What can we do to see how much money she's made up to that point?
Times 32,
So 23.45 times 32. Do that for me. Slow down, Dylan, you're ahead of us. Boy, those words I never thought were gonna come out of my mouth. I'm just messing with you, Dylan, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. That was mean of me. I apologize. I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a candy bar or something if you.
Oh, I'll need another one. You already seen me.
What'd you come up with? 750.40?
She had a lot of
I was
hours.
about to say,
Now,
that's something to do.
that's what she's made so far. Now, Dylan, what do you gotta do to,
891.11
minus 750.40? Somebody do that for us. Go bring, grab one out of the white box.
I swear I gave you a grade for wood.
What is it?
140.73.
$140.79. One. I heard that, and I wrote it wrong. So $140.71. So on Saturday, she still has to earn how much money? $140.71.
So you actually got 140 divided by the hourly pay.
23.
So divide that by 23.45.
6.0. 6 hours.
Just, does it come out even?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
No, don't tell me pretty much.
6.00042643.
She's gonna work like 6 hours a day.
So 6 hours in a minute. Now, is their company gonna pay her that way?
No.
Probably not. So if she wants to make sure that she's meeting her budget, how many hours is she gonna need to work? Maybe 7, maybe only what? 6.5. Depends on the company, if they, how they pay, if they.
If she takes out a lunch, would she work 7 hours?
Oh, that's right. So we forgot the lunch, didn't
yeah.
we? So,
7 hours.
so 7 hours, she might have to work what? 8 hours,
7.5.
7.5, depending on if the company will pay her that way.
Somewhere yonder.
What, I could not budget myself like that.
Can you budget yourself?
Sarah assembles alternators for a parts company. If you do anything, if you work on any kind of farm, you need to know that alternators are, you can rebuild them, right?
Alternators.
Alternators.
That's weird how you say that.
Alternators. Alternators.
You know what you do if you do pop quiz?
You don't need
that.
that. You don't
How many people do you think would know?
Someone at the
I'll wait, man.
2, me and Drew.
I don't think a lot of people
3.
would know anything.
I think 3. I think it's 3.
So she assembles alternators for parts, for a parts company. She earns $7.25 for each alternator she assembles. The chart shows last week's work. Find her gross pay for the week.
Just add all those numbers up.
So grab your calculator and do me a favor and add all those up. What's it look like happened on Saturday as you're adding them up? Yeah, it looks like she got lazy. Then on, that probably made her have to get up on Sunday and do those other 10.
It was that Friday night party and she had
That
a
what it was?
hangover, she couldn't get up Saturday morning.
Facts.
So it's
Like 2 hours.
667.
That, go back a step.
92 hours.
92?
That's a lot of hours for a week.
It's not hours, it's what? It's how many alternators
Yeah,
that she put together.
Dude, 92 hours.
Right, so 92, what do we do with that 92?
Times by the 7.25
Good, but that'd be
per
great.
Times it by that, and that's gonna tell you how much she makes for that week.
667.
maybe you should give people that don't know how to do this a chance.
Maybe they should try that.
So, for $667, now looking at Sarah here, if that's what she does for a living, and she figures out that, hey, the $667 isn't cutting it for me, what she need to make sure she does?
More all.
Do more of them.
Don't fall
Right.
asleep on Saturday.
So, if she did 19 on Friday, why only 12 on Monday?
Cause maybe she wanted to get done for the week, so that's why she did
And how are you gonna have Thursday?
Why would you, so what's that tell you about Monday? She probably got up and said, I got all week to do them.
Yeah.
And then she
Yeah,
popped
I'll
off
get 'em
Tuesday,
done.
Wednesday, and Friday.
Piecework might not be for everybody, because you're sort of on your own. If one day you think, I don't feel like doing a whole lot today, I'll just do a whole bunch extra tomorrow. Does that really usually work out?
No.
Imagine if I got a dollar per top.
I would rather work like
Imagine if I got a
So maybe it's for
that. That's how I
you,
do school.
but it's not, it might not be for everybody else.
You did, you do like 3 groups, like 5.
Probably.
Tim Jackson installs stripes and stickers and cover snaps on jet skis. You'll see a lot of this for cars and stuff when you see people getting decals and stuff put on their cars or detailing. That's a lot of the companies around. I know I had relatives that used to work down at Boost Chevrolet in Brookville. And it's called something else now, I think. I don't think it's
That's where
Boost
my
anymore.
dad.
You got a lot of family members that
Yeah.
live in these big companies.
So they used to work there, and some of them did the detailing and stuff on cars. Well, they got paid per car, what they got done, and that was piecework. Mechanics that work in those kind of shops, they get paid piecework. All right, my cousins, some of them do, some of them don't. But my cousin, one cousin that worked down there as a mechanic, they're it's not the same on a lot of cars now, but the turn signal thing that goes into the side of your steering wheel in the car that has all the extra crap on it, that break all the time, and something on it breaks, those little parts, they got paid 3 hours to change that one part. If you bought the tool that stuck into the steering wheel and unhooked something in there, it would pull right out, and you could drop the new one right in, and it takes about 15 minutes. All right?
3 hours.
So, and you get paid for the 3 hours worth of work. So he bought the tool, and every time those cars would come in, he tried to make sure he jumped on them before any other mechanics jumped on them, because he could make a whole bunch of money in a short amount of time.
I don't know, being a mechanic, I don't know if you want to work for people.
A lot of companies don't give you a choice.
You have, like, say you get like a certain amount of money for every car you get.
Well, you don't get, see, that's the thing, you get a certain amount of money for the job. So, when his last little bit of time there at Boost, for some reason, they were trying to lay people off, and they couldn't lay him off because he'd worked there for so long. Like, one of the last jobs they gave him was to change the motor out on a big farm truck.
Engine, motors, electric.
Alright, so change the engine out on a big farm truck. And he got paid like 12 hours.
No, it took them 6.
No, it took him like 4 days,
Oh.
because there's so much to it as far as the wiring and rehooking everything and doing all
I
that.
feel the farm
You say
truck.
farm trip, I got a farm trip.
No, I mean a big
Semi?
farm truck, not a semi, but like a
Box truck.
box truck, grain hauler or something. Alright, so, and it took a whole bunch, and they were just trying to make him mad, and they knew, hey, you're only gonna get paid like 10 or 12 hours for this, but it's gonna take you a long time to do it. So, but that's a lot of mechanics. If you get a job as a mechanic at some of these places,
My last day.
they'll have a list. Or you get paid this many hours for
To change the tire.
change a tire. You get paid this many hours to do this. You get paid this many hours to do this. So on, so on, so on. Like I said, I think I told you guys last time, I got that tire plugged, and that guy plugged it in like 15 minutes. Well, the company,
That's just the 3 hours.
right, it was like an hour. They got paid an hour. It was like $15.
I mean, if you get good at it, you can make money like that.
Exactly.
But if you ain't good at it, then
Do you remember Ryan Tyrell?
Mm.
He asked me how to change his tires on in his car. I told him, so I don't know, but he looked like he was 20 years old. I'm like, okay. Got a quick $80 for something like that, man.
Are you good?
So Tim Jackson does this. He is paid $15 per stripe, $10 per sticker, $25 per cover snap. Last week, he installed 20 stripes, 11 stickers, 4 snaps. What is his total pay? How are we gonna figure out his total pay here?
Times everything together.
Alright, which 2 things? Give me 2 things I times together.
Strips and prices.
So how much per stripe?
15 to 20.
15 times 20, somebody do that for us.
that'd be
300.
300. Then what else we gonna multiply together?
10 and 11.
Does everybody agree with that? What's that give us?
110.
And what's the last thing?
25 and 4 is 100.
And what are we gonna do with all those?
Add together.
Add them all up.
510.
560.
So $510 is how much he earned.
That's crazy.
And that's, again, you see a lot of these places, I know there's a detailing place down, outside of Germantown where I live at. And I know that that's how they pay people. They pay, all right, if you do this, you detail the inside of the car, you get this amount of money. You detail the chrome on the car, you get this amount of money. You detail, you know, this, or you wash the car, you wax the car, you get this amount for each car, so on and so on.
What's that one guy that drives that Ford that details outside of Leesburg?
That's the assignment. We got about 15 minutes. I was hoping 20 minutes. I was hoping to have a little more longer than this. Get your books out. Write this down. We're going to start real quick. So let's hurry and get this done.
Hey, guess what? Me and John will turn this in for a while.
Isn't that right, Doug?
Why, cause you're gonna do it third month?
Yep.
Yeah, they're gonna sit there and
Well, I got
hold each other's hands third month and do it.
Hey, how you know Tyree?
I know his brothers.
Oh, I thought.
His brother's a
Luke
crazy
and
guy. Yeah, you don't wanna know him.
What?
I'm sorry.
No, yes, I do.
You don't wanna know him.
You wanna know?
Yes, I love Luke.
Luke's-
Love him as
Luke's
a
an odd
boyfriend?
fella.
No.
Whoa.
Dylan,
I
be
would love
nice.
that kid if I wanted
Be
to.
nice.
Luke's an odd fella.
That kid is Brandon.
He is.
He has brain damage.
He is.
Tyree
Be nice.
Yeah, be nice.
He would laugh at me if he was from
I laugh at you. What's that got to do with
This
anything?
is a lot, probably.
I'm ugly.
That's why my mom dropped me.
You weren't the only one, bud.
104, page 104, number 3.
It's getting better.
Moving quickly.
Monday, 12/13, 15,
So on Monday,
Monday.
There are two now.
You mean Friday?
Or Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, Friday. We don't
Number
start
3,
on Monday.
Monday.
Oh, we're doing, well,
The other one?
Monday. How many hours did they work on Monday? Notice this place makes them clock in, clock out,
8:15.
and break. They have clock in, clock out.
That kind of.
8:15 to 12. How many hours is that?
9:15 to 4.
9, 7.
3.75.
3.75. Everybody agree with that? And then 12:30 to 4:30. How many hours is that? 4. So
4 plus 3.
3.75 plus 4 is what?
7.75.
7.75. Number 4, I think that's all we're doing on this is getting the hours, right?
Yes.
Number 4, 8:30 to 12:30.
Well, we got
4, 1:10 to 5:10.
5.
4 again, so 4 and 4 give you what? 8. 8. So 8 hours on that one. Number 5. 8:35 to 12:50. So what would you do on that? Dylan says it's confusing. Just go 8:35 to what? 9:35, 10:35, 12:35, and then that's where we're cut off, right? Because then it's 12:50, right? So from 35 to 50, how many minutes is that?
35 to be 50.
15. So 4.25, right? You guys left me that earlier. Plus, how many for the 3.5? So 4.25 plus 3.5, what's that? 7.75. 7.75. Number 6, 8:15 to 12:10. Now they're really going to confuse you.
Why? I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous.
3 and 55 minutes.
Maybe we better go back up and read the directions here.
He required to keep a weekly time for each information. Calculate the numbers of hours worked for A each day.
I thought maybe they said round them to the nearest quarter of an hour, but they don't do it. So, which one are we on? Number 6?
So,
3
9:15, 10:15.
55 minutes.
3 hours, 55 minutes.
I think.
So I'm just gonna write that up here, 3 and 55.
3 hours, 55. And 12:45, 12.
So 12:45, 1:45, 2:45, 3:45, 3:45 to 4 o'clock would be 3 and 15 minutes, right? And then we got another 20, so 15 minutes plus 20 minutes is 35 minutes. So 35 minutes here and 3 here.
That's confusing.
What's 55? So we gotta keep them separate here. What's 55 and 35 give us? 90? Well, that's an hour, like Dylan said, so we're gonna carry an hour.
30 minutes.
So 7 hours and 30 minutes, so what is that?
7.5.
7.5.
That's kind of confusing.
At least,
Sometimes
they
life's
have computers to do all that.
Right. Yeah, unless, again, unless you're working the kind of jobs that you say you wanna work.
You know what we
We're all
should?
round up.
We should pick someone that has a talk dog class to do 7.
Make them do
I
something.
told you that like 14 problems ago, Adam.
8:25 to 1:15. 8:25 to 1:15. So what we got? 9:25, 10:25, 11:25, 12:25. We stop there, right? 12:25.
That's a,
And then if we went, what? From 12:25 to 1:15, how many minutes is that? 12:25 to 1:15. So that'd be 45 plus another 5 would be 50, right? So 4 hours
just shy of
and 50 minutes,
Gives you.
150 to 530.
Wait, what was that?
We're not done yet. 150 to 530. So 250, 350, 450, that's 3 hours, right?
5:50,
Plus
be 4 hours.
10 to get to 5 o'clock.
And then another 30.
Plus another 30, so that'd be an extra 40 minutes, right? So 3 hours and
40 minutes.
40 minutes, what's that give us?
5, 6, 7,
So that's 7 and 90, well, what's 90 again?
30.
So we take an hour over there,
8 hours, 30 minutes.
so 8 hours and 30 minutes, what are we gonna put that in?
8.5.
And then I think number 8, does it ask you to do?
Total.
It's 35.5 hours.
Number 8, you total all those up, and you're saying 35.5?
Or 39. 39.5.
Everybody agree with that? So grab your calculator and do it.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you.
He said that is
I believe you. You're pretty good.
Number 9. Eddie Irwin is paid $17.25 per hour for a regular 37-hour week. His overtime rate's time and a half times his hourly rate. Use the time card to find the total pay for the week. So we're using what we just got done doing up there.
Oh my goodness, this is so fun.
So what are we gonna do?
17.25 times
37. What's that?
638.25.
Now, is that it? No, 37 hours, everything else he gets paid time and a half, right?
Yeah.
So let's come over here, what's 1.5 times, what was his normal pay, 17.25? What's his overtime pay?
No, just effort.
Time and a half, so what's 17.25 times 1.5?
I'll do it real quick. Well, 25.875, so 88.
So $25.88,
Times 2.5 hours.
and we wanna times that by the 2.5 hours that he worked for overtime.
That's not very much.
64.69.
What do we do with those two? Add them together, what's that give us?
638, number 25 plus.
703.
That's your answer for number 8, or number 9, sorry.
Alright, now we go to 12.
13.
Number 12.
What is it?
You work from 7 to 11 and from noon to 4. You do not work overtime. Your hourly rate is $7.50. Use the table below to find the hours worked and the total pay for the week.
Wait,
So you see that one where it says you were out at 4:04? Guess what you get paid for? 4 o'clock. Alright, you don't get paid the extra 4 minutes.
Oh, so we're rounding.
All
Yeah.
Okay.
So how many hours did you work on
So
Monday?
they're all 4.
How many hours did you work on Monday? 8. How many on Tuesday? 8. How many on Wednesday? 8. These are answers A, B, C, and D over there. How many answers on Thursday? 8. Now here you gotta be careful. How many hours on Friday? Nope,
wait, we don't see it.
we're on E.
E.
How many hours on Friday?
We're doing whole hour or half
I
hour?
don't know, let's go back up here. They didn't say that they dock you, but I'm looking at that and I would think that they would dock you if you,
Well, they didn't say it, so we won't.
Could be.
so you wanna go with 8?
Yep.
Alright, so put 8 in there. How many hours did you work for the whole week?
40.
40 hours? What are you gonna do with that? Times it by
750.
750?
We're changing.
Oh my god.
What is it?
$300.
300 even?
Yeah, 300.
300 even?
Yeah, I just guessed.
Job done.
That was crazy. Wait, so.
Long time no see.
Hey, you're late.
Hey, Mr. Ebersole.
I've been doing all the
I
work.
got, did the one on do today, you wanna watch it?
Number 13. Look at number 13. If you're paid time and a half for Saturday and double time for Sunday, what is your overtime pay for the week? What is your total pay if you include the hours worked Monday through Friday in problem 12? So we're going to use that 300. So pay time and a half on Saturday. How many hours do you work on Saturday? 8 and a half?
You get 11, 25 an hour.
So keep that in mind. How many hours do we work on Sunday? Oh, I'm sorry. So let's do 8 and a half times 11 point what?
25.
Do that. What's that give us?
Times 8, 90.
You don't know. Oh, 8 hours. 12. 8 hours. 8 hours. $300.
94.5.
So $94.50. Now that's for Saturday. For Sunday, you make double time, so what did they make? 7,
Make it 15.
15 per hour? So 15 times, how many hours did they work on Sunday?
8, maybe.
I don't know, let's
Why should-
count it up. 9, 15, 10, 15, 11, 15, that's 3, plus to 45, that's 3 and a half, right? So remember 3 and a half. And then 12, 15 to 4:30, that's 1, 15, 2, 15, 3, 15, 4, 15, 4, and, 4 and a quarter, right? So 7:45, is that right? 7 hours and 45 minutes? Or 7.75, I should have said.
$107.25.
That is crazy.
So $107.25, what are we gonna do?
Add this together.
Add those two together, is that our answer?
For A.
Correct answer.
That's the overtime pay, right?
201.75.
Which number is this, 13? So
13.
201, A, 201 point what?
75.
75?
What's that, 300?
plus the 300, so 501.75. Is that all they asked us was A and B?
Yeah.
14 channel.
All right, you can do the rest yourself. We only got a couple minutes left.
What about hot sauce?
Since you